I'm Matt Carey, documentary editor at Deadline.com. We have for you now such a moving film from Prime Video. It is Maxine's Baby, the Tyler Perry story, which of course tells the story of the billionaire entertainment mogul and actor Tyler Perry. We are joined by the writer, director, producer Gilela Bekele and by director, producer Armani Ortiz. Thanks for being with us. Everyone knows of Tyler Perry, but we learned so much really about his incredible journey from terrible hardship, really, and trauma in New Orleans to worldwide fame. Before we get into some questions, let's take a look at a clip from Maxine's Baby, the Tyler Perry story.
It was a star-studded night Saturday as celebrities flooded Atlanta to celebrate the grand opening of Tyler Perry Studios. The studio, 330 acres, sits on the grounds of the former Fort McPherson Army Base in Southwest Atlanta. Tyler also dedicated 12 sound stages, each named after a groundbreaking Black artist, including Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, and Halle Berry, just to name a few.
How do you feel right now, sir?
I feel excited and calm and ready and grateful and thankful and hopeful and yeah, ready to go. I'm really trying to calm my nerves because you know how I am about time. I'm just trying to be like, just go with the flow, TP, just go with the flow, be in the moment.
That kid underneath your porch, did he ever think he'll have all of this right now?
Are you really trying that with me right now?
I,
You really trying that with me right now? It ain't gonna happen, buddy.
I just need.
It ain't gonna happen. You better call Gayle King or Oprah Winfrey or somebody. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not going there.
All right.
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna try on
Gotta
weekend.
just get through this moment. I have to try not to float above it. See, that's my thing though. My problem with a lot of things in life is I float above it. And that's just from childhood, that's from abuse, where it's pain, you just try to get through it. But I found out that I have that with everything. When it's even joy and happiness, if it gets, my senses get too heightened, I just want to be above it. So tonight, and every day, and every moment, it's like, calm down, calm down, calm down. You're okay, calm down, you're safe. It's just emotion, it's just feeling, it's good, you're all right. It's love, it's joy, so.
For Galila and Armani, the first thing, how did you convince Tyler Perry to do this? He is, needless to say, probably the busiest man in all of entertainment.
Well, initially, it sort of started as a joke. I had the privilege of having that front row seat of witnessing this man become busier than ever. And this was in 2014. And again, it was just, naturally when you see something incredible happening as a filmmaker, naturally you just pick up the camera, want to capture. And it was sort of like the purpose of archiving it. And as it went on, I realized just like acquiring an army base and turning it into a film studio. Like I've never heard or seen anything like that. So I was like, let's just keep filming. And of course, any human being, it's not a natural feeling to have a camera follow you. So it's just the comfort of just, I think because I've known him for so long, that kind of let your guard down a little bit. And then we just kept filming. And then I became a mom and having a newborn, it's not easy to juggle and follow someone around as busy as Tyler is. And I met Armani through a friend, and he joined our team and became a film now.
Yeah, you're mentioning the Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, which were at former Fort McPherson, and again another example of Tyler betting on himself, but a tremendous risk. But he has created this extraordinary facility in Atlanta, which is again a huge bet, and appears to be paying off very well. But Armani, I wanted to ask you about the Maxine of the title. And of course, for those who've seen the film or know Tyler Perry, this is his mom, Maxine. And I think he makes the point that if you want to understand me, you got to understand what my mom, Maxine, means to me.
Absolutely. I think that, while Galila and I were making this film for over a decade, when we found that footage of Maxine, we kind of like had that epiphany moment where it's like, wow, this is the heart and soul of his story. This is the heart and soul of Tyler Perry. And to hear her voice and to see, her influence in his life throughout not only his course of his work, but what he's been able to build here in Atlanta, it's just breathtaking. And when you really start realizing the true why of what he does, of why he does what he does, then it becomes a lot more like full fledged and a lot more of a grounding story where it's like, wow, like I cannot believe that this magnificent woman was able to endure and sacrifice so that he can endure and sacrifice and do, such amazing things, not only in the entertainment space, but rather for the community and for, for people like us at large. So it's been fantastic to see. And, obviously we give a lot of credit and praise to Maxine.
Yes, and she suffered a great deal of abuse at the hands of Emmett Sr., Tyler's father. So did Tyler, and he was born Emmett Jr. and changed his name, and that was by no means accidental. Galila, I think we tend to, especially with celebrities, we tend to read their lives backwards. In other words, we see the success that they achieve, and it's like, somehow it was destined to be. I mean, what I think is stunning about Tyler Perry is there's every reason for him either to have given up along the way or never to have tried. I mean, that's a kind of unanswerable question of how he was able to overcome trauma, physical, mental abuse, and become this incredible creator.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what made us feel really excited in making this film, um, even for those we know the most, our family members, our loved ones, we can start filming them with a loving gaze and think we know them so much, but until we see all of that in action, you don't really know the full story. And I think the most exciting moment for us, on top of finding this beautiful archive footage of Maxine, was also going back to the origin of who Tyler Perry is. What this force of nature that works so hard, but where's the beginning? And again, like you said, we know the end result. We weren't interested in making a film about Tyler Perry, the celebrity, the accolade, but really, how did he survive? We know a little bit of the beginning. I think a lot of people know his story about him being homeless and self-made, and then fast forward to where he is now. But we really wanted to cover the beginning, as precise as possible, and also that middle, that gray area of like, what makes someone a singular individual as achieving greatness and coming from the background he comes, and sort of the trauma and also forgiveness, what that looks like in practice. So it's been definitely a masterclass for us. For me, I can say that.
Yes, you sort of think about it's a very inspirational story, but man, well, you hope everyone will take inspiration from it and see maybe, there's that kind of notion of a giant within because he certainly found it. And you have Oprah Winfrey in the film who really speaks to that. Armani, I'm wondering, you know him very well and have spent so much time with him, what it's like to be around him and how he makes decisions. Because I think when someone is doing so much stuff, uh, I get the sense of a very decisive man, and he's not shy about telling you, "Yeah, I don't really want to go there. Next question or next project, next thing." I'm curious if you can give us some insight into being around him in that respect.
No, for sure. He is nothing but decisive. And throughout the 10 years, thankfully I was able to build this relationship of trust. And kind of like the one thing me and Galila always talked about is, we have to earn the space to be with him. We have to earn that vulnerability.
Mm.
And throughout time, we were able to see a little bit more, and go through that decision making process. But he's a man that is always thinking 10 steps ahead. And when I say 10
Mm.
steps, like we think 10 steps, he thinks like years and years and years
Mm.
ahead, in terms of impact, in terms of sacrifice, in terms of like what he can do today to help other people tomorrow. And being with him, the hardest part of it all was kind of keeping up with him. I'll get to a room and he's already off to another room, and then I get on set and he's already thinking about the other thing, and he's writing another script, and I'm like, okay, wow, like being up close and personal with that type of work ethic is a thing that I personally always take away from it. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to be like in order to be successful, but more importantly, not to be successful for successful sake, but rather
Mm.
to see what can be built when you're willing to sacrifice the way that he sacrifices. So, it was tough. We got yelled at a couple of times to be like, hey, we're not ready to film that question, or to be in his space 124/7. But little by little, we got there, so we feel good about that.
Yeah, and those moments are human and revealing as well. And I just don't think you're that successful on that scale without having that.
Yeah.
Sometimes of having boundaries. It's like, no, I got to go on to the next thing. Another part of the film I think that's very revealing, and this has been well known, is his faith. But we learn, I think, more about that. There's wonderful footage, early footage of him in the church, kind of doing maybe an unintentional comedy routine, where I think people who are mentoring him in the church are like, I think maybe you don't belong in the pulpit, but somewhere else. But this is, we don't see that a lot in the entertainment industry, of people who so openly embrace their faith, and how incredibly central that is to him, Galila. So you certainly explore that in Maxine's Baby.
Yes, it was important to explore sort of like what gives meaning to survival. Like you said, Tyler's been so open about his faith and his belief. And also, it's another source that connects him with his fan base so deeply. He's born into it. This is not something he just all of a sudden started practicing, but it's also a segue, an introduction, and introducing Maxine. She's the one who said, "Listen, I don't have much to give you, but I can give, I can introduce you to what I believe in, and if you connect to it, then this is something you kind of sort of use as a survival guide." And that's been like the beacon of hope for him, and to, like you said, go back and reveal the source where it comes from, and also like a little bit of a historical context of Reagan cut the arts from the after school programs at the time
Yeah.
so church became sort of like a safe haven for a lot of African American youth in the South, especially. And he's a beneficiary of that. That church stage was sort of how his first experience of what a live audience feels like. And again, nothing is really by accident in our life. And at the beginning, we
Yeah.
just think that we're just using as a passing time. It also became like his school, like a theater school in a sense. And he fell in love in how he connects with people. So to witness that, I didn't even know he was going to be a preacher. To like find that out was such a treat for us. And again, I think it goes back to the heart and who he is.
Yes, and we do hear that on his mom's side, there were many preachers. I mean, going back generations, and that did seem to be what he was destined for. But he kept listening to the message, kind of evaluated. But man, we see all the obstacles he overcame. Everyone knows now Medea, his creation, but that wasn't, what he was doing in the theater was not successful initially. Again, he had every reason to give up. Armani, I wanted to ask you about one of the things I think that's bold and brave in your film is that you acknowledge his critics, and anyone who is successful at that level is going to have critics. But there are people who, have kind of criticized his approach to depicting the African American experience. But so you didn't shy away from that, and I wondered about wanting to acknowledge that in the film, that obviously and inevitably he does have some critics.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that, that was a very big thing for me and Galila. Galila and I wanted to consistently, like, while we were mapping out the story, like she says so eloquently, we want to give room for polarity, and we want to be able to tell the full story of Tyler, not just do a fluff piece where it's like, hey, we want to show him in this great light, because that doesn't make him human. And just how, like,
Mm.
we go to the MoMA, we go to PS1 in Brooklyn or anywhere. Sorry, I'm a New York kid, so those are the first ones that come to my head. You have a reaction to it, and that is what art is. And to see how he paints, to see what he's able to do and tell the stories that he's from, may not be the same where other people might do something different if they had the opportunity. But to shy away from who he is, whether that is talking about Jesus and his faith, whether it's talking about his abuse, how he grew up, or depicting his mom and his aunts. We wanted to not only show that depiction, but also what are the reactions, what are the criticism, is there validity in those criticism, but also is there validity in what he's making. And ultimately we wanted to give it to the audience and say, hey, this is not for us to tell you how to feel, this is for us to present to you a full and complete story that is transparent with everything.
It's just so revelatory. And again, with our art, our icons in culture, be it entertainment or other parts of the culture, we just think, yes, of course. But here we're really understanding the struggle, how it came to be. The film is from Prime Video. It is Maxine's Baby, the Tyler Perry story. We have been joined by the writer, director, producer, Gilela Bekele, and by the director, producer, Armani Ortiz. Thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you so much, Matt.